Welcome, everyone. Mohawk Matt once again, and I'm bringing you a fantastic human being. And guess what? It's another scientist, but don't worry, he's way smarter than me because, as you know, I know very little about anything in the science realm. And you just saw his awesome glove pop up. His name is Dr. Richard Ordoñez. What's up, Rich?
Doing good. Like, like pretty excited to talk about some of the things that I do on a daily basis. So hopefully everybody finds my research and my journey very interesting.
Fantastic. I'm looking forward to it. So you do you're a nanomaterial scientist inside the Navy and the Marine Corps, and I even saw you have a special glove on.
So this is just a glove because I'm going to show some materials and stuff to you guys today, which are actually non-toxic. So I don't really need to wear the gloves, but still, just as a good engineer and a good scientist should, you always got to pair and be safe when you're doing research.
Fantastic, definitely. So tell me a little bit about yourself, Rich, and kind of what you're doing in nanomaterials right now, or in
So
your role.
So specifically, I'm a researcher or a scientist with the Graphene Microfluidics Lab. It's a nanotechnology lab, actually in the Advanced Development and Experimentation branch of the Naval Information Warfare Center Pacific, which is a Department of Navy lab located in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii.
Ooh.
Yeah, so at the GML, what we call it GML for short, we actually focus on a variety of different technologies, but all with kind of like a focus on new and novel nanotechnologies that have been coming out in the academic world, and we try to find ways to see how those materials are suitable for Department of Navy systems. But we also work with like the Marines, the Army, the Air Force. We have several people within our lab that are embedded in different places. So like when I say NIWC PAC, it's kind of like, I would say it's like the Google of the Navy, and we do a variety of different things, so which is pretty cool. But mainly the nanotechnology that I work on is mostly with the focus of nanomaterials, microelectronics, optical, and also chem biosensors, with the goal of making better and more secure underwater and space communications, and optical technologies, and also something that we're getting into now is making more wearable and diagnostic materials for what's kind of going on globally, like in the world.
Yeah, that's excellent, Rich. That's excellent. So how did you get there? Were you that 5, 10-year-old kid? You're like, one day I'm going to design something that's smaller than the eye can see. How did you get to where you are?
Actually, it's a funny story. So, being that my dad was actually in the Air Force, and he retired in Hawaii, I think back in 1999. And one of the things was that, like, living in Hawaii, like, I'm kind of a surf bum. So, so it's a nice place to be where you can work a stressful day, and then on the weekends you can go to the beach and have fun with family, friends, and fish and surf and things like that.
Yeah.
But I first started out in the astronomy community when I was going through school, and I was really interested in optical sensors, about studying like the cosmos, and eventually the Department of Navy approached me through several internship opportunities, and one of those internships was the NREAP program, which is the Naval Research Enterprise Internship Program. And through that program, I was exposed to some pretty cool Navy technologies. One of them working with nanomaterials. So, up to that point, like I said, I was kind of a surf bum. All I cared about was going to the beach, getting good grades. But then, at the same time, it really got me interested in, physics and how things work, how materials work. And through the NREAP program, I ended up, it was a 10-week internship program. And one of the things that was really awesome about the NREAP, and I'm saying that because I know it might be important to students, was that they paid really well for 10 weeks of work.
That's great.
So that was definitely pretty awesome. And then during that experience, I was actually working with another NREAP intern, so which was kind of nice, in which his name is Cody Hayashi. And actually now we work together in this lab.
That's
So
great.
it was kind of awesome that we kind of transitioned to the Navy. But at that time, we were developing miniaturized antennas. So like, you know, antennas, just like you may know, are huge, giant things that like you see like, you know, basically anywhere that you live, you see like a huge antenna sticking out of the ground or out of a building. But, you know, the Navy wanted to make more discrete and miniaturized antennas that you can put in different places, but you can still do things like, you know, sense objects
Yeah.
or do. So at that time, my team, me and Cody, we were actually one of the first peoples to integrate, you know, nanomaterials like graphene into integrated circuits. So, but the more important thing about that experience was that like it really allowed me to like gain like pretty valuable expertise, like on-the-job training with like material science, you know, design and fabrication of like integrated circuits. And I also learned how to program.
That's
So,
awesome.
which
That's
was
really
really,
cool.
and
Yeah.
then, but most importantly, it actually kind of transitioned me into a path of like, you know, like first it was the NREAP internship. And then because they liked what I was doing, I transitioned into another internship called the Dawn Pathways internship, which is
Great.
a co-op. And then eventually I graduated and got a full-time position with the Navy, which was kind of awesome.
What do you mean? What do you mean kind of awesome? All I heard was you get to surf all day and work with cool technology. That sounds wicked awesome.
Well, like it was nice because like oftentimes like when you're in school and you're getting close to the end of, you know, graduating, you're kind of really stressed out. You're like, what am I gonna
Yeah.
do? Am I gonna go to grad school? Am I gonna, you know, transition into the workforce? Have I interviewed with enough people? You know, what does my resume look like? But through the NREAP and the other the Dawn Pathways internship program, it actually trained me how to write a resume. You know,
Great.
like so like I was able to put all the things that I did on my resume, and that was very appealing to like, you know, Navy folks. And then it also took the stress off of me a little bit, in which I kind of had a home after I would graduate,
Yeah.
and because I got exposed to like my research early on, it was just an easier transition. And
That's great. Yeah, that's awesome. So Rich, let's talk about some of the nanomaterial stuff that you're up to right now.
So like so kind of define nanomaterials a little bit. So like nanomaterials they're like chemical structures that are manufactured at the very small scale. So like in order to be a nanomaterial, like one of the dimensions of the nanomaterial have to be on the order of 1 to 100 nanometers. So like when you think about that, you know, okay, like 100 nanometers, 100 sounds big, but no, it's in nanometer scale. We're talking about 10,000 times smaller than the width of your hair, right? So
Wow.
like like it's hard enough to find your hair on the ground. Now imagine 10,000 times smaller than that. So
So
like,
so
go ahead.
let me ask if so then is Antman, does he count as a nanomaterial or is he too big?
When he uh, reduced his size into the quantum realm and stuff and everything.
Okay.
And I would say, yeah, like some of the big features you saw in the movie that he was like looking at these big things around him. Yeah, those are the nanomaterials.
Ah, okay. So regular Ant-Man, he can't hang, but
Oh,
miniaturized Ant-Man, he's cool enough to be nano.
yeah, exactly,
I
exactly.
see.
But like the nice thing about nanomaterials is that like they exist in nature, but you can also make them yourselves, right?
Wow.
So many scientists like smarter than myself, you know, have done really great jobs of like manufacturing nanomaterials using sophisticated instruments and also nanoparticles. But the kind of most important thing about these nanomaterials is that they're really developed to exhibit unique and novel characteristics that are kind of the same to like the bulk materials like silicon and things like that,
Yeah.
but at the same time at the nanoscale. So they tend to have things like increased strength, increased sensitivity, increased chemical reactivity, and for my purposes, like, you know, it's like very conductive. So and then
Okay.
like
So
Uh,
when you say conductive, do you mean like it can conduct electricity, or what do you mean by conductive?
yeah, so like one of the main materials that is really kind of near and dear to my heart because I work on it almost every day
Yeah.
is called graphene. So graphene, it's an allotrope of carbon consisting of a single layer of carbon atoms. We're talking about atoms, like this stuff is small,
Yeah.
and it's arranged in what's called a two-dimensional honeycomb lattice. But I actually have some graphene here that I kind of wanted to show you guys.
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
So typically, folks make the graphene on carbon. So let's see if you
Okay.
guys, excuse me, like on copper.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see here copper, and I think you can kind of see those little like ridges and like little
Yep.
areas of discoloration.
Yeah.
So scientists have become very smart to make graphene in like conventional ovens. So like basically they put a bunch of gas in an oven and then they mess around with the temperatures and things like that. And then what you do is you deposit the atoms on copper, and then you use that copper to transfer graphene to other materials like this piece of plastic here, which
Okay.
is piece of plastic, your soda bottle plastic. And you can kind of see that it's virtually transparent. So you can actually, see my face and everything through it.
Yeah.
But even at a small scale, just like ants are very strong for their size,
Yeah.
graphene is very strong in that it's basically the lightest material in the world that we can use right now, strongest material, and it actually conducts electrical current very well. And it's
Okay.
also a very good thermal conductor, meaning that it can be used for like heat sinks and like things like that. So like if anybody's made a computer, you see that on your CPUs, you have this giant heat sink.
Yeah.
Well, now you can put graphene on it, and that'll help with the thermal properties. And then, you can what is it? You can operate your computer faster and play your games a little better.
Well, that's really why it matters, is to make me play my games better. And any other application, that's a bonus. If it can make my games faster, then I'm in for sure. So
Or,
Rich, what I mean, we probably actually got to cut this short because I was gonna go make chicken nuggets, but I'm probably gonna go make graphene in my oven. Probably
you
not a
actually
good. Probably not a good idea.
you actually can though.
Well, since I know nothing about it, I'm not going to mess with it. I'll leave that to you and the professionals. But
Yeah.
now I know if I ever need to sell my oven, I'm not going to market it that it cooks food. I'm going to market it that it cooks graphene. Probably get a much better price. So, so Rich, what is you kind of talked about some other smart scientists that are in the field, but a little bird told me that you were one of the youngest, you received the youngest distinguished award at the school you went to.
Oh, yeah. So
Oh
like,
yeah,
well, like at University of Hawaii at Manoa, when I was a student there,
yeah.
um, I had some crazy ideas, and
Those are the
and
best ideas.
like that was kind of the nice thing about working with a Navy internship because they really listened to my crazy ideas.
That's
So,
awesome.
but I'll be very honest. Going to school is, especially grad school, is very stressful. Because you're basically you have to publish, you have to get good grades, and as a grad student, you have to basically work on something that could basically change the world with to that extent.
Yeah.
So there was a time during my academic career that like I got sick. I got something that was it was kind of like a stomach illness. It's called gastritis. It's basically inflammation of your stomach.
Okay.
And my coworker Cody had actually read online that if you put honey in your tea, it actually has good medicinal properties.
Okay.
Started drinking, tea and honey when I was in the lab, and I kind of like left honey on top of my lab desk. And
Okay.
one day we were trying, like I kind of had this idea at the time, and it's a crazy idea, but I wanted to make a a biodegradable transistor. So like mainly that's like because transistors, like they're made with, heavy metals and things like that, and they're difficult to throw away.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make something that was biodegradable. So we ended up looking at making transistors out of water, out of sugar. And one day, just out of frustration, because one of my ideas wasn't working when I was using water and sugars, like, I ended up putting a drop of honey on the graphene, like actually on this very same piece. Like I basically put a piece of honey and and I made a transistor, and I was also using liquid metal. That's another interesting material. It's like the Terminator stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, but not toxic. So I basically put the honey on the transistor to make it as a gate dielectric material. And a transistor is a device that has 3 contacts. It has a source, a drain, and a gate. And you move current between the source and the drain, but in order to turn that off, you need something in between that's going to be turning the charge off and on. So ended up putting honey on there. Everybody was laughing at me in the lab. Cody was like, "What are you doing?" So then we ended up connecting it to our much more sophisticated, instrumentation to measure like its current and voltage characteristics. And to our surprise, we ended up having a working transistor. So like all the crazy stuff I was doing, like that's one of them. But all the non-crazy stuff we were struggling with, and we did something outside of the norm.
Yeah.
And then people became very interested in this. So we actually published in a very high impact Nature journal. We got some recognition. So if anybody wants to look up on this stuff, they can type graphene and honey online. And find a lot of stuff on this. And then we also developed, we submitted patents. And then to go back to that award, at the time, the Navy actually helped us take our patent from the invention disclosure to a full patent in a matter of I think it was about a year and a half. Wow. And that's unheard of, right? So as scientists, people take 10 years to get some of their inventions, to the patent stage. Yeah. So which was really nice. And then in the University of Hawaii, along with myself and several other scientists within the college, we ended up, had this whole shebang thrown for us, and I was great. And I did that, when I was really young. So it really inspired me to invent more. And
that's awesome. So I mean, who'd have thunk? All you need to get sick, and you come up with great ideas. Not that I'm recommending that to anyone, but yeah, that I love that story, because you took something that, like, you're working on science and lab things and really important work, and you're like, here's some honey, I'm gonna dip. And it worked, because that's how you call them crazy ideas, but that's where we get the best stuff. And in any science, that's where it comes from, is everyone says you're crazy until it works. And then your friend Cody was making fun of you until it worked. And he's like, oh yeah, it was my idea too. Yeah. Yeah. No, so that's great. I love that story, Rich. That's awesome. So where do you think this, so you've kind of talked a little bit about nanotechnology now and where it is. What are some applications we're using it at in the Navy right now?
Yeah. Okay. So for example, nanomaterials, they have the ability to absorb light throughout the entire electromagnetic spectrum.
Yeah.
Bulk materials, they kind of only absorb little small ranges, but materials like graphene can absorb photons over a wide range. So which is typically from the visible all the way into the radio waves. So, so to the Navy uses a lot of sensors to detect, track, and identify objects around them.
Okay.
But for example, we use our cell phone cameras, to capture memories and things on a daily basis. But when somebody says capture memories, I say capture data, right? So that's that's data or snapshot of what's going on, kind of in a scenario or something like that. But usually your cameras do a good job of resolving visible light. Yeah. the Navy, for the Navy, they're really interested in, you know, seeing things through like, you know, dust, fog, smoke, clouds, like in disaster areas, and, you know,
Yeah.
for like search and rescue operations. And at night, it becomes really difficult for soldiers to see things at night.
Yep.
So, you know, to really overcome these challenges, materials like, you know, graphene and other nanoparticles like quantum dots, which are semiconductor nanospheres,
Uh-huh.
the size and the shape of the quantum dots, you know, can be tuned for specific electrical, optical,
Very
and
cool.
magnetic properties. But, you know, they're also in our TVs, right? So they make good
Yeah.
TV. So every time you walk in Costco, you'll see that quantum dot LED TV. That's awesome. I'll never be able to afford one of those, but, but my parents just bought one.
Okay, so now I gotta go cook some graphene in my oven. I gotta go tear apart my quantum dot TV, and I could be a nanoscientist practically.
Yeah, basically.
Oh wait,
But
wait, hang on. Wait, hang on. I gotta take a data selfie instead of a photo selfie. I'm capturing data now. I'm so cool.
uh, but the nice thing is that, like, so for the Navy and for like Marines and Air Force and guys like that, like they basically, or actually, we're looking at ways of combining these nanoparticles to make better sensors.
Yeah.
Okay, so we want to be able to make the next generation GoPro that, you know, you can see throughout the entire spectrum. If you want to see in the visible range, you know, the soldier can see in the visible range. You want to
That's
see in the
great.
infrared range, the soldier can see in the infrared range. And this becomes really expensive for us to work with industry and other partners to
Yeah.
make these. But, you know, like labs like myself, we're looking at these phenomena and trying to combine these materials. But the unique capabilities that the Navy really can get out of this is that it'll help them communicate more securely and at farther distances, because now you could sense fainter objects. It'll also allow them to see through, you know, dust, you know, fog, smoke, and all those things for their search and rescue operations.
Yeah.
And it could also help you determine, you know, the quality of food, right? So
Yes.
like when we go overseas, right? Like some of the conflicts are mainly food, water, and, you know, like clothing, right? The many conflicts in the way of the world is because of those specific, you know, problems. But like, what if you can take a picture of an apple and be able to tell, just by that picture, whether or not that apple is, you know, good enough to eat and you won't get sick from that apple,
Yeah,
right?
that's great.
So you can use, you know, these we call them multispectral imagers, which to, you know, detect light over the broadband. But in reality, it can allow us to live our life a little better because it has applications throughout a broad spectrum of, you know, things.
Yeah, that's great, Rich. So where do you think this is? You kind of talked a little bit about where it is now, where maybe you're kind of going in the near future. Where do you think this is going to be in 20 years? Like, so when I think nano, because I'm just a regular guy, not a fancy scientist like yourself. Are you gonna? Am I gonna have like a Iron Man suit that just appears from my pocket watch or something? Or like, where do you where do you see this going?
Well, so like first of all, nanomaterials are already here,
Yeah.
so they're kind of everywhere. You know, but where I see these nanomaterials being in the future is that, um, you know, because we don't know that much about nanomaterials because they're difficult to see, right? So, you know, the scientific instruments are getting better, so it actually allows us to study, the phenomena behind these nanomaterials. So, but in several years from now, you know, you'll have cameras that could see, you know, over a broad spectrum. Like you guys have heard of a FLIR camera, right? So it's FLIR camera is what they use right now at, you know, your houses and stuff and everything to help you see if somebody's coming in your house at night, right?
Okay.
So, you know, talk about having better cameras so you can get better quality out of your video. For example, nanomaterials can provide a variety of different advances and treatments for, like, you know, diseases. And it also allow us to make better imaging and diagnostic equipment.
Wow.
It also has value in the energy sector. So like I have a project right now that's funded by the Navy to look at, you know, light bulbs that have nanomaterials in them. And like in your house, like most of the heat is generated by your lights. So if you can more effectively remove that heat by using nanomaterials from your house, then your inside of your house will be cooler and your AC costs won't be that high.
Yeah.
So there's also improvements in manufacturing processes. So like because we're developing materials and new fabrication techniques, we'll be making better processors for like your CPUs, be able to do better, more computations, be able to play Fortnite without any lag.
Oh, whoa. Sign me up. I'll buy 2 right now.
And then also nanomaterials are actually currently being used to make to clean water, right? So
Oh,
water.
wow.
So like you can buy nanomaterials in water, and it removes some of the contaminants in the water, and then you have this nice like water that you don't have to spend $6 on a smart water.
Yeah, I can't afford that. Remember, I'm making chicken nuggets and graphene. I can't afford fancy water.
Yeah, so you can
So
basically make clean your water a little better, which has huge impacts that like the Department of Navy and the Armed
yeah,
Services and stuff, everything, like it'll basically change the world. So like it will change the world one day, but right now you might not be used to hearing about it because it may not be on the news and stuff and everything, but in 20 years you're going to be like you're going to be buying I just bought a Samsung Note 20 Ultra yesterday. Maybe in the
okay.
future, the Samsung Note 20 Nano. So it's going to have so much nanomaterials integrated into it that it's going to
Sure,
basically make my life better.
sure. So I also recognize that I need to make sure I invest in some honey so I can accidentally come up with some cool nano stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
But
So Rich, what else? Is there anything else you want to share about kind of what you're up to in the Navy Marine Corps today?
I would say probably, we're just beginning to understand these materials because, the science is getting better. So there's always opportunities for, the next generation of scientists to,
Yes.
actually look at these materials. Like if you remember back in the day, the first picture I printed on like an IBM printer took me like 20 minutes, right? But at that time that was state of the art stuff. But now
Yeah.
you're like, scanning and printing. Like people don't even print anymore because now, because they're trying to save paper, right?
Yep.
But it's same thing with nanomaterials. There's opportunities for students and the next generation of researchers to really get involved in this type of things that they can be in the position that I am now, making the next generation of devices that'll have kind of a broader worldview and a broader impact, kind of on the world.
That's
So,
fantastic. That's really exciting too. Well, Rich, thank you for joining us today. It's been just super fun learning from you and kind of talking to you and learning what not to do in my oven so I don't break something. So thanks for joining, Rich.
no problem. Thanks for having me.
Definitely. And you guys heard it there. Rich at the end, he was talking directly to you in the sense of he's a young guy, but he's still learning and understanding nanomaterials. That means if you're like, oh, I want to give me some of that nano, that's how it works probably. You want to get in the nanomaterials world? We want to know where you think this is going and where are you going to take this? Because Rich is doing some great stuff, but I bet you he could use some help. So let us know. Super excited to hear from you and have a great one.